Unexpected. Jungkook hugs Taehyung at Tyler's concert. Jin BTS gets emotional and cries. The atmosphere around BTS has been shaken by a moment no one saw coming, a moment that left fans frozen in disbelief. Jungkook, who had just landed in Korea, appeared out of nowhere at Tyler's concert and embraced Taehyung tightly in front of everyone. How could such an encounter happen so suddenly? Why would Jungkook, after stepping off a long flight, rush directly into a public event just to see Taehyung? And why did this reunion stir such visible emotion from Jin, who was reportedly overwhelmed to the point of tears? Was this a spontaneous act of affection between longtime friends, or a deeply personal moment rooted in something much heavier than fans realize? Jungkook's sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the arena. Concertgoers who came only to see Tyler were stunned as whispers spread through the crowd. Was that Jungkook? Why was he here? Within moments, cameras caught the unmistakable image. Jungkook weaving through the backstage corridor, expression sharp, eyes locked on someone. When he finally found Taehyung near the wings of the stage, the two locked eyes for a brief second before Jungkook stepped forward and wrapped his arms around him. The crowd, who moments earlier had been focused on the stage, erupted in disbelief. How often do two global superstars reunite in such an unplanned and emotionally charged setting? The hug itself was brief, but intense. Observers described Taehyung's expression shifting from surprise to a faint, almost trembling smile, while Jungkook buried his face against his shoulder for just an instant longer than expected. It was a gesture that spoke volumes about history, about friendship, and perhaps about the pressure both have carried in silence. Why would such a small gesture trigger such an enormous emotional response from Jin, who was not even present at the concert but reportedly saw the moment through a live video feed? Could this signify a deeper fracture or a quiet longing among the members that has been building for months? Jin's reaction, as described by those around him, was complex. He was said to have laughed through tears, joking lightly about feeling left out, yet unable to hide how deeply moved he was. Why would Jin, usually calm and composed, break down over a hug between two members? Was it simply the sight of seeing the younger ones reconnect after so long? Or was there something more personal fueling his emotion? Perhaps the weight of their shared past and the distance that has grown between them during their separate schedules and personal struggles? His words, though delivered with humor, reportedly carried a trace of longing, as if the moment had touched something raw inside him. Fans who witnessed the scene online immediately began dissecting every second of the interaction. Why did Jungkook seem so determined, almost urgent, in the way he approached Taehyung? Why did Taehyung's posture stiffen at first before melting into the embrace? And why did Jin, of all people, respond with tears when he has weathered so many public moments with stoic grace? These questions have ignited speculation among ARMY about whether the members are quietly navigating emotional turbulence behind the scenes, struggles that have gone unseen but are beginning to surface in unexpected ways. Could this spontaneous reunion be an unintentional glimpse into a much more fragile dynamic than fans have been led to believe? There are also questions about timing. Jungkook had just returned to Korea, and rather than retreating to rest or privacy, he chose to enter a public, high-profile setting. Why now? Was this planned in secret, or was it truly impulsive? The symbolism of choosing to meet Taehyung at a concert, an environment saturated with noise, energy, and visibility, cannot be overlooked. Was Jungkook sending a message, perhaps to Taehyung, or perhaps to everyone watching, that some bonds cannot be suppressed by distance or circumstance? The hug, though silent, seemed to roar louder than any words could have. For Taehyung, the moment seemed to strike at something deep. After the embrace, those close to him said he remained unusually quiet, offering only brief nods and faint smiles. Could it be that he too had been carrying the weight of separation, of missed conversations and unspoken concerns? Seeing Jungkook standing there, against all odds, may have pierced through the emotional armor he has worn in public. Was this the first step toward mending something that has quietly fractured over time? Or was it simply an emotional release in a fleeting instant, never to be repeated? Meanwhile, Jin's tears have only fueled speculation about what he truly felt. Was it jealousy, as he half-jokingly admitted, or was it grief masked behind laughter? Did he envy the ease with which Jungkook and Taehyung slipped back into connection, when he himself has struggled with the loneliness that fame often amplifies? Jin's subtle confession of feeling left out may sound playful, but in the context of his tears, it hints at something heavier. Perhaps a fear of being distanced from the emotional core of the group, of watching the younger members build bridges while he stands on the shore, waiting. The broader question now echoing through the fandom is unsettling. What does this mean for BTS as a whole? Is this emotional volatility a warning sign that their internal bonds are under strain? Or is it proof of their enduring closeness, powerful enough to break through silence and time? The embrace between Jungkook and Taehyung was simple, but the aftermath has exposed a labyrinth of questions about loyalty, longing, and vulnerability. Could this be the spark that forces long-delayed conversations among the members? Or could it mark the start of a painful emotional unraveling that no one saw coming? What cannot be ignored is the undeniable humanity of the moment. In an industry where idols are expected to remain polished and impenetrable, Jungkook's public display of affection shattered that facade. It reminded everyone that behind the carefully constructed images are young men who have carried each other through immeasurable pressure, who may still crave each other's presence even after years of fame have pulled them into separate orbits. Jin's tears, Taehyung's soft smile, and Jungkook's relentless urgency to be there. All of it speaks of bonds forged in fire, bonds that may bend but have not broken, and yet, the lingering unease cannot be dismissed. If something so simple could provoke such an intense reaction, what unspoken emotions are still buried among them? Are they silently battling fears of drifting apart? Are they haunted by the possibility that the group they built together could splinter under the weight of their individual paths? Or did this moment prove the opposite? That even if they scatter, they will always find their way back to each other? No one can say for sure, but the sight of Jin crying while Jungkook held Taehyung is now etched into the collective memory of ARMY, a haunting reminder that even in triumph, the human heart remains fragile. This single embrace has become more than a fleeting gesture. It has become a symbol, a mirror reflecting the hidden emotional currents running beneath BTS's public surface. It raises questions that no statement can answer, questions that fans are left to wrestle with in silence. Why did it feel like a goodbye, even as it looked like a hello? Why did Jin's tears seem to speak of both joy and loss? And most importantly, what will come next, now that this delicate fracture has been exposed to the world?